What's going on, moviegoers, movie lovers? Mr. Filmstock here, and welcome to the Mr. Filmstock podcast. This is going to be a very interesting episode as I talk about Rotten Tomatoes. Yes, the review website Rotten Tomatoes and how I find it interesting, not interesting, and the pros and cons, and what I think how it's hurting the industry, so to speak. So Rotten Tomatoes, if you didn't know, is a film and television user-based community review site which was launched in August of 1998 by three undergrad students at the University of California, Berkeley. Now, although the name Rotten Tomatoes connects to the practice of audiences throwing Rotten Tomatoes and disapprovals of stage performances like plays or Broadway, the direct inspiration for this name came from a scene in the 1992 French-Canadian film Léolo. Now, since January of 2010, Rotten Tomatoes has been owned by Flickster, which in turn was acquired by Warner Brothers in 2011. Now, the owner of this company is Warner Brothers, as I stated, or WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, who have a 25% stake in the company, and NBC Universal, who have a 75% stake in the company. Its parent company is Fandango Media, and it is in a way, interesting site, so to speak. Now, I am a movie reviewer. You all know this. I have Mr. Filmstock Reviews. I review movies of the past, present, and it's just an interesting aspect of how Rotten Tomatoes is seen today as the go-to forum for if you want to see a movie or not. For me, I don't really buy into it at all because it just takes away from the experience. It's like, oh, this movie has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Go see it. Really? We have to go through a website to see if we want to go see a movie or not? The aspect of this scoring is really, really interesting. There are three tiers to it. You have the rotten tier, which is 0 to 59%. You get a rotten rating. From 60% to 100%, you get a tomato reading or a fresh reading. And certified fresh is a movie that's reviewed and is the best, and it's 75% to 100%. Now, rotten rating is for films or TV shows with a score of 59% or lower to receive this score or seal. Films where it's 60% or higher that did not meet the requirements for getting the certified fresh. And certified fresh is the distinction and the bare minimum for wide release films with a score of 75% or higher that are reviewed by at least 80 critics, of whom 5 are top critic, and films with limited release require only 40 reviews for TV shows. Only individual seasons are eligible for consideration, and each must have at least 20 critic reviews. What is a movie critic now? What is a film critic? Back in the day, we had Siskel and Ebert, two of the pioneer film reviewers of the industry. You either had 2 thumbs up, split, up and down, or 2 thumbs down. When it was 2 thumbs down, nobody went to go see the movie. But if it was 2 thumbs up by Siskel and Ebert, you went to go see the movie. The perception of film critics and films are really different now because everyone is a film critic. Yes, I am part of that being everyone criteria, I will say. The only aspect is that what do you want to believe and what don't you want to believe? There are film critics now who are on the social media aspects of things where now they're getting to the forum of having so many viewers and having so many followings that they don't review a bad film anymore. Why? Why don't you review a bad film? If you didn't like the movie, say why you didn't like the movie and give the perception to someone else if they want to see it to go like that movie. I will say that if I like a movie, I will tell you why I like it and what I don't like about it. I'll give you the pro and con in that one review. I won't just give the positive aspect to it because then you'll be like, yeah, it's great. And then someone will come back and say, you said this was great. It's not great. Okay, that's your review and that's what you want to believe. If it's a bad, then fine. Everyone has different ideas of what a good film is and what a bad film is. But it is hurting the industry to an extensive point. Now, major Hollywood studios have come to see Rotten Tomatoes as a potential threat to their marketing. Yes, I do believe that is a fact, because you have films that are 75% or higher that are getting good reviews from so-called film critics who I've never even heard of, that if the movie is good, people go see it, but then they themselves find the movie is actually terrible. Don't use Rotten Tomatoes as your go-to factor to seeing if you want to go see a movie or not. Watch the trailer. If you like the trailer, go see the movie. Or don't watch a trailer and go into the movie blindly. Slowly, trailers are becoming a niche where we're getting 3.5 minute trailers showcasing the entire film in one sitting. Why? And even before the trailer starts, there's a mini trailer to that trailer, a 10-second tease. Don't give us that. Just show us what's happening, and that's it. Or give us a minute tease, and we have no idea what's going on. It's like, wow, what is going? Horror films do this a lot, and the basis of it is phenomenal, because you see the killer, you see what's going on, you get a gist of the story, but then the resolution is not there. But you have to go see the movie to find out what the resolution is in that film, and it really, really makes a lot of sense. Now, in 2017, several blockbuster films like Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Baywatch, and The Mummy were projected to open with gross amounts of 90 million, 50 million, and 45 million respectively, but ended up debuting with 62.6 million, 23.1 million, and 31.6 million respectively. Now, they say that the Rotten Tomatoes scores really affected this. It's because these films each had 30%, 19%, and 16% respectively, and was blamed for undermining them. Now, that same summer, films like Wonder Woman and Spider-Man Homecoming both had 92%, both received high scores and opened and or exceeded expectations, with being $100+ million track opening record. So it goes to show, like, wow, that is the aspect of how today's generation looks at films. Because Pirates of the Caribbean is one of the biggest franchises that catapulted Johnny Depp to a big movie star stardom. The character of Jack Sparrow is one of the best in the film history of all time. Just the way he acted, the method acting, it was so good. And Dead Men Tell No Tales, phenomenal film. I absolutely enjoyed it. But then people go to the aspect of, okay, let's go to Rotten Tomatoes and see what the aspect is and how certain things were done. The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise, was supposed to be a reboot of the Universal Monsters franchise films of the yesteryears, the ones that starred Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, and this was the start of a new generation, or the Dark Universe. You would have gotten The Mummy, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, and it's like, wow, this would have worked. But it tanked at the box office because people didn't go see it, because they went to Rotten Tomatoes and thought, oh, I'm not going to go see this or waste my time, or just wait for it on physical media or streaming and I'll see what happens. Well, it lost out on money and it didn't go forward. The Dark Universe would have been a phenomenal aspect to how the new rendition of horror films, or the Universal monster films, could have been in today's world. Now, as a result of certain concerns, 20th Century Fox commissioned a 2015 study titled Rotten Tomatoes and Box Office that stated the website combined with social media was going to be an increasingly serious competition for the film business, or a serious complication for the film business, excuse me. The power of Rotten Tomatoes and fast-breaking word of mouth will only get stronger. Many Gen Xers or millennials now kind of see that if they want to go see a movie, that every purchase would be through the internet, whether it be certain means or how they do certain things. And as that aspect or that generation gets older, they compromise with how you want to go see things. And other studios have commissioned a number of studies on this subject just to see how Rotten Tomatoes affects the movie that you're going to see, with finding that 7 out of 10 people said they would be less interested in seeing a film if the Rotten Tomatoes score was below 25%, and that the site had the influence on people 25 and younger. Can you believe that? That is absolutely a slap in the face for the business of Hollywood and the film industry. You're going and basing your perceptions on Rotten Tomatoes, a site that was like, hey, let's figure out how we can garner people to go see a movie or not see a movie. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, the scores have reached a level of online ambiguity, I will say, which film companies have found threatening. Now, for certain instances, the scores are regulated, posted in Google search film reviews. Yes, if you Google, for example, if you say, my goodness, Spider-Man Homecoming, Rotten Tomato score, it will pop up, or it will have that certified fresh right in that search engine or that search result, which is really, really interesting. Now, the scores are prominently featured in Fandango's popular ticket purchasing website on the app that they have, and even popular streaming services now like Peacock. Which, if you do go to Peacock, you watch a movie, say for example, you watch a new film that was just released and it's coming out after 60 days of the release, you go there, you'll see the Rotten Tomato score along with the synopsis of the film that you are watching. Now, it led to complaints that Rotten scores damage film performances, and I will agree that it does. For example, you have pre-screeners now, where I will say I've been a part of some pre-screeners where you are selected, you go see a movie, you give your review about it, and that company or that site that brought you out to that pre-screener will say, give us a review, what you like, what you don't like about it. They're honest. And you give your honest opinion about a film, about that film that you went to go see. The aspect is that you don't know how it's going to do. But with the word of mouth and the early reviews that are out there, you will go see that. There are some, and I don't want to name names, that are film viewers and critics that I do like, that I absolutely give their 100% truth and honesty for a film review, for a TV series review, for a show, an episodic review for that matter. They give 100% to that review. They make it funny, they put some tidbits in there, and it's fun to watch. There are others who critique certain things and think that their way is always the right way. It's not always the right way. It's not. It's not how it works. If you think that, oh yeah, this movie sucks, it's like this, okay, that's fine. You think it sucks. But don't just stay on that one course and say, this is what's killing Hollywood. There are other things that are killing Hollywood in the subject matter and the genre of it being like, okay, this is really too much. How do films like this get made? Is absolutely mind-blowing and mind-boggling to see. But once you have that aspect of pushing forward the norm of what a film reviewer, so-called film reviewer is, then, you can work off of that. You could say, hey, I'm bashing myself because I'm a film reviewer and all this. Yes, I love films. I've always loved films. I found out that I wanted to be a filmmaker for the longest time. I loved the films. I loved talking about it. I knew things about aspects and subjects of the filmmaking process, the writing, the behind the scenes. I like things like that, and then turned into a film reviewer. Now you have people who are just film reviewers out there saying that this movie's this, you should go see it. People like a film because it's over the top, it's weird. I like films that don't take themselves too seriously, that are over the top, crazy, insane. Horror films, for that matter. There is just a borderline of it doesn't take itself too seriously, and where it meets the norm of this is fun, just go watch it for entertainment purposes, and you'll have a blast. There are horror films out there that go way over the top, that are like, okay, stop. There's no reason to have 3 or 4 films in the franchise, let alone 10 films being released in the past 10 years. Not only that, some studios have suggested embargoing or canceling early critic screenings in response to poor reviews to a film's release, affecting the pre-sales and the opening weekend numbers. And I absolutely agree that pre-screeners or embargoes should be kind of canceled in a way, or if they say, hey, go see this movie, from this studio or the website, watch it, but don't give your review until that day of the movie comes out. Because if a movie comes out on a Friday, by either Tuesday, Wednesday, that embargo is lifted. It hits the Rotten Tomatoes website, it hits the social media aspect, and people are like, oh, I'm going to go see this movie. No. I personally don't use Rotten Tomatoes for what it is. And the interesting aspect of how marketing tactics are done is very, very different than what they were back in the day. Certain things of how, I want to say, marketing it was done was different. You had a 30-second to a minute trailer. If you watch the original trailer, the original teaser trailer for Alien, back when it was released, directed by Ridley Scott, it's such a fantastic trailer. Nothing is given away. It's barely any like what is going on, what's happening. Now, if you play that today, you'd have every cutscene featuring the xenomorph and Sigourney Weaver trying to dodge it, run for it, or you see the xenomorph killing off the crew in that film, which is really, really sad to say. Now, in response to certain films, several films, notably like Captain Marvel and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, prior to their release, the site announced that user reviews would no longer be accepted until a film is publicly released, which is smart, which is really, really smart, because that in a way kind of saved their box office in a way, because Captain Marvel grossed a ton of money opening weekend, as did Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. But then yet, of course, it met with some underfavorable reviews because people evidently, from what I've heard, is that when they see it and when the Rotten Tomato score wasn't out, they were like, "Oh, okay, let's go see what this movie is about." And no, but and majority of the people did not like Captain Marvel or Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, which really, really was interesting. Those are great films. Are they the best? No, they have their faults about them, but it's just an interesting tactic of what is done. Now, back in the day, you had people go into the film aspect of a newspaper, the entertainment section, to see a movie review. You had the listings, the show times, you had where it was playing in your movie theater, you had to go circle it, you had to be there at that time, you had to enjoy it, and then with that, you had a 5-star rating, 4-star rating, and you just had that feeling of, yes, this is what it is. And this is just like this is the summer blockbuster you want to see, or go see this movie. You'll be on the edge of your seat. You bought into that, which is why my reviews are garnered toward that, bringing that classical feel of films back. This is why I give things star ratings, because star ratings, I grew up on those. You have 1-star, 2-star, half, 3, 4, or 5 full stars, which is magnificent. I very rarely give films 5 out of 5 stars. And within that parameter of how I work, I give it 5 stars. I always start a review, or before I see a movie, it's out of 5. But what I don't like about it, and if I don't like that movie, I half the star a little bit. If I don't like the story, it loses half a star. If I don't like something else, it loses half a star. So that 5-star review I had is now 4. And I usually explain that in my reviews. Sometimes there's also been manipulation in the aspect of what Rotten Tomatoes does. Now, there was an article back in September of 2023 that raised several criticisms, including which large companies were able to manipulate reviewer ratings. And it cited public companies that as an example of how scores can be boosted by recruiting, obscure or often self-published reviewers using certain examples of films. Now, the other criticisms were that American director Martin Scorsese, Oscar winner Martin Scorsese, wrote in a column in The Hollywood Reporter, one of the most renowned aspects of entertainment media, criticized both Rotten Tomatoes and cinema scores for promoting the idea that films had to be instantly liked to become successful. Scorsese, in a dedication to Roger Ebert, said that voicing the Rotten Tomatoes and other review services was a devalue to cinema on streaming platforms to the level of content. Now, also aspect, Meryl Streep accused Rotten Tomatoes of disproportionately representing the opinions of male film critics, resulting in a skewed ratio that adversely affected the commercial performances of female-driven films, which isn't wrong at all. She stated that I submit to you that men and women are not the same. They like different things, she said. And sometimes they like the same thing, but sometimes their tastes diverge and are very different. This is very, very true. Now, it's also stated that if the tomato meter is slightly so complicated to one set of taste that drives the box office in the United States, it's absolutely the means of the norm. Because mostly all of your film reviewers and your film critics are men. And it goes to show that there are not many film reviewers out there. And I will say, and I am an advocate for it, we need more women filmmakers, writers, reviewers, critics. We need more women to review entertainment things because their mind for pop culture is way, way more advanced, 100% of what the male aspect is of entertainment. And I will be the first to say that. And I have no problem saying that at all. Now, Rotten Tomatoes, which is an interesting, I will say, is deliberately withheld the critic score for Justice League based on early reviews until the premiere of it. Yes. And they had this new thing of either see it or skip it before its release when that year it came out. Now, some critics did view the move as a ploy to promote the aspect of what the film is. But then, as you know, how the whole aspect and the whole social media carnage, I want to say, started with Justice League and how it was a bad movie. WB didn't like Zack Snyder's version. They brought in Joss Whedon. We all know how it panned out and the whole aspect of how things continued. The New York Times, the famous New York Times, aggregated statistics are the critical reception of audience scores versus critic scores, and noticed in almost every genre that the public rates a movie more positively than do the critics. And this is true. If you go see a movie and you're a moviegoer, you're a movie lover, then I want to see the aspect of how that person who doesn't know anything about films went to go see a movie and actually talks about it in the end. Give me their review. Give me their rating. What they think, what they didn't like, the pacing, the music, the action, the comedy, the horror, whatever it is. Give me the public view on it, not a critic's view on it, because they're either going to say it's bad because they don't want bad press, because, some film critics now who are on social media have become film directors, where I used to watch them and now they're getting and giving good reviews to movies because, oh, I know what it feels like to this. No. If you were a film critic before, you became a film director, and then you're still reviewing films, but you're giving every single movie a good review, even though it's bad, don't do that. Don't absolutely do that. Do not slap or give someone a slap in the face or give them praise because now you're a film director. That's the whole aspect of how things worked. But before social media and, the whole aspect of YouTube and going online and seeing a Rotten Tomatoes score, it's absolutely insane. Audiences score and reviews have this user average. You have the positive and negative. The positive aspect is a popcorn bucket on the website standing up, or a green bucket tipped over that's spewing out popcorn that looks like it's throwing up, which is really, really weird. They also added in February of 2021 a new What to Know section, which was created for each film entry, combining the critics' consensus and a new audience says. So you have the audience saying what they like and the critics saying what they like, and then both comparing and like, who's going to spend 2-3 hours on Rotten Tomatoes reading what the critics say and the audiences say by just go see the movie, pick your movie time, sit your butt in that seat, eat your popcorn, drink your soda, pop drink, whatever you're drinking, your tab or, your whatever you want, and enjoy the movie. Okay? Now, I will say, when you go see a movie, don't go at the time it's supposed to start. If it says it's going to start at 7:30, it's not going to start at 7:30. Okay? It's not, and you know this by now. If you like trailers, go at 7:30, watch 25-30 minutes of a trailer. Then, the movie starts at 7:55 or 8 o'clock, for that matter. So you have to add a difference of about a 15-20 minute wait for those films. Now, the Rotten Tomatoes API, and if you didn't know, API stands for the Application Program Interface, provides a limited access to critic and audience ratings and reviews, allowing developers to incorporate Rotten Tomatoes data on other websites. So we're getting to a point where AI is being used in a way for how to, we want to see a movie for that matter. The influence on Rotten Tomatoes is huge. It's big. It's really, really surprising. And other aspects of the criticism were that Rotten Tomatoes paid film critics close to $50 to $100 to just minutely change their rating of a movie, and they would get paid for it. Like, for every aspect of you getting paid for it, and then for only $100? No, 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 no. If you want me to change certain aspects of a review, give me a little bit more than $100, okay? Especially in today's economy and inflation and how shit is happening in the world. It's really, really insane. Now, it also has been criticized for being easy, and I will say that word, easy for studios to manipulate by limiting early screenings to critics inclined to be favorable among other tactics. So there is a way, and I wouldn't be surprised that if 25 years ago, studio executives found 3 guys and were like, hey, we want you to create a website for us and just, base it off of certain things. Now, the history of Rotten Tomatoes, it was launched on August 12, 1998 as a spare time project by those 3 undergrad students. The creating and processing was to create a site where people can get access to reviews from a variety of critics in the U.S. Now, as a fan of Jackie Chan, one of the students was inspired to create the website after collecting all reviews of Jackie Chan's Hong Kong action movies as they were being released in the United States. Now, I will say, around 97 to 2000, Jackie Chan was a big, big action star, just crossing over from Hong Kong to American cinema. Now, the catalyst for the creation of this website was Rush Hour in 1998, Jackie Chan, first Hollywood crossover, which was originally planned to release in August of 1998. Now, one of the creators kind of coded the website in 2 weeks and the site went live that same month, but the release of Rush Hour was delayed until September. Besides those Jackie Chan films, he began including other films on Rotten Tomatoes, extending it beyond Jackie Chan's fandom. The first non-Jackie Chan Hollywood movie whose reviews were featured on Rotten Tomatoes was Your Friends and Neighbors. The website was an immediate success and receiving mentions by Netscape, Yahoo, and USA Today. Yeah, remember Netscape, that website? That was a fun website. Within the first week of its launch, it attracted 6,000 to 1,000 daily unique visitors as a result. So can you imagine? This site was created because of Jackie freaking Chan. Like, holy shit, holy shnikes. Absolutely mind-blowing and insane. Now, not only is the parent company Fandango has had its ups and downs as well, especially with what's been going on with the website, the ticket trafficking, and certain how to work things and who owns it, who doesn't own it, and the divisions of movietickets.com, movies.com. I'm not going to go into that because this episode is solely for Rotten Tomatoes. So, for what it is, it's become a big thing now with film reviews and film critics and how certain things are done. If you want to go see a movie, go see that movie, enjoy that movie, have fun with that movie. If you don't want to go see that movie, don't see it. Wait for it, because the release from theater to home streaming now, I was going to say physical media, but that main aspect is losing its charm in a way, is barely about 60 days, 90 tops. If a film releases in March, by July or August, it's on a streaming service. Now, the way you can tell in what streaming service it's going to be on is, for example, if you go see a Universal Studios, Universal Pictures movie, right? For example, Twisters, which came out in July of 2024. In about a few months, it'll be on Peacock, because Peacock is NBC Universal. So I wouldn't be surprised if it releases on Peacock. So you have the aspect of going with Rotten Tomatoes, not going with Rotten Tomatoes. And the fun thing is that they give out certain awards as well, like spoofing the Academy Awards or the Golden Globes or the Critics' Choice Awards. Now, the Critics' Choice Awards, I will say, sometimes gets it right and sometimes gets it wrong, but they are the real, true nooks and crannies of the industry. Those are true critics. Some of them do post to Rotten Tomatoes. I don't want to get into that, but the thing is that also it does affect the Motion Picture Association of America rating system. which I will talk about in a future episode of the Mr. Filmstock podcast, how the rating system has been a good thing or a bad thing in the industry. It's come to know that the number of ratings would be shown in groups of from 50 up to 250,000 plus, and for easier visualization. So you have the Rotten Tomatoes score, then you have the rating, and it's like, okay, does an R rating affect the Rotten Tomatoes score? Does a G, PG, PG-13, does it affect the Rotten Tomatoes score? Everything works to a point where the aggregate score is what people talk about. As I stated before a few minutes ago in this podcast episode, there are critics out there who don't like movies at all and will just bash a movie, or they will give you a reason, and it's just annoying to see that. As I stated, you have film critics, reviewers, I don't know, whatever you want to call them out there, and I'm probably putting myself in this category, which I am, who really give the truth and honesty, which I do. I will give you the truth and honesty in a film review. And if you ask me even more to elaborate after you see my review or you hear my review, however you want to know my review of a film or a TV show for that matter, or episodic series reviews, what I think, I will give you that honest opinion. And I will also give you, if you tell me, oh, what do you think about this actor? Could you have done something differently? What about the director, the writing, the setting? What could you have been done differently? I will say that some critics, reviewers out there, go into an aspect of just going into one subject matter, combining everything in one little blender, blending it up and just spewing it out there for it not to make any sense, which is really, really hard to do. But I commend those for doing it. And like I said, I don't want to name names or certain aspects of who or what is a good reviewer or a bad reviewer, but there are some out there who are really, really fantastic. And some of them are just really coming up and up. They still need to find their niche in a way to put out like what a good review is, what a bad review is. Don't be afraid to give out a bad review at all. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But don't let someone else's review on a film or my review on a film deter you away from going seeing that film. People will say, okay, what do you think about this movie? I didn't like it. It was good, but here, if someone asked you if you liked it, say, yeah, I liked it. And it's like, well, I have certain things about it. Then you go into that conversation of why didn't you like it, what you liked about it, what you could do differently. That's the whole aspect of certain things. Now, when Rotten Tomatoes was just for films, it was fine. Then they added in TV shows. Then shit got different. Okay? We're reviewing whole seasons of a show that have 10 seasons. It's like, you're basing yourself off of one episode in the 8th season of how season 1 went? Absolutely insane. But this is what Rotten Tomatoes is, and if you want to follow it, great. By all means, follow. If you don't want to follow it, don't do it. But if you go to Rotten Tomatoes and you find that you are basing it off of if you go see a movie or you shouldn't see a movie, don't do that. Word of mouth, pop culture, entertainment news, and your own justification should make you go see a movie if you like it or not. That's it. If you want to see a trailer, go see a trailer. I do trailer reactions, I do trailer reactions on my YouTube channel. And it's one of my most popular things next to my other show, Mr. Filmstock Reviews. And the reactions I do, I go into it blind. Don't know what to expect. But it doesn't say, like, if I watch a 3.5-minute trailer, I will say at the end if it gave us the whole movie, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, if I'm excited for it. Because I will give honest review opinions on what I believe people want to hear and what people want to know. That's the difference of someone being skewed to the likes and fitting into the norm of, oh, they're going to give good reviews now because that's what they're going to do. No. Give your different opinions on why it's good, why it's bad, the medium, and the aspect of being the norm of a full thing. Be in the audience's shoes. When you go see a movie, watch the movie as a fan and then watch it as a reviewer, or vice versa. Watch it as a reviewer, then go see it again as a fan, because that aspect and feeling you get of what you want to know what the audience says is going to change your perspective and mind. If you want to go see that movie, like I said, go see that movie and have fun with it, because you're going to enjoy it a lot. There are a lot of people who I know who have Rotten Tomatoes on their phones. Yes, they do. They go, oh, let me see what this is. Oh, this movie looks okay. Oh, yeah, I'll go see it. And then they hate it. The reason they hate it is because it got an 82% of Rotten Tomatoes and it wasn't a good movie. But you have 17% of Rotten Tomatoes, that person goes sees it, and it's a great movie. So it's kind of skewing the tangent of, if it's a higher review, the movie is bad. If it's a lower review, the movie is good. Vice versa, versa vice. I mean, you can see it however you want to see it, but it is what it is with Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm not really a fan of the website. It does hurt the industry. It does take back what the box office is and how certain things really, really run in the industry and how things are done, especially with who owns the company, like Warner Brothers Discovery and NBC Universal. Like, are their movies having higher scores than other studio, releases? Think about that. Just think about that. WBD and Universal, NBC Universal, own this company. It makes you think, like, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm not, saying that, they give bad reviews to other studio sites and they give good reviews for the films they release, but it makes you think about what is right, what is wrong, and to think that this site came about because of collecting reviews on Jackie Chan Hong Kong action movies. Absolutely phenomenal. And I love that. Maybe we need a new website for film reviews and TV reviews where it's just the norm of one or the other, and it's the good and the bad, and people giving 100% true opinions on it, and it's fine. Because nowadays, Rotten Tomatoes wants to see so much of your reviews in order for you to be a tomato or certified fresh Rotten Tomatoes reviewer, if that made any sense. Because you go to Twitter, X, Twix, whatever you want to call that goddamn website or shit. You have the thing where on people's bio when they're film critics, says, yeah, certified Rotten Tomatoes reviewer. Why? Keep that off. Nobody wants this. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. I've had friends who wanted to be a part of that Rotten Tomatoes film critic, and they say, "Oh, let's say," I was like, "Oh, the couple months later, you don't fit our criteria of reviews." Okay, thanks. Just approve me so I can give an honest review opinion, unless I don't fit the norm of what you want to see in your website. So, I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that. But the genre and the user categories really, really need to be focused on. And I will say, and I have been saying this entire review, don't use Rotten Tomatoes as your stepping stone to go seeing a movie or not seeing a movie. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure this episode and me saying good or bad things about Rotten Tomatoes won't sour anyone else by going to see a movie or not. Go to Rotten Tomatoes. Go see that movie. If that score is high, fine. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And, you can blame Rotten Tomatoes if you want. So that's the aspect of what I think Rotten Tomatoes is and how it's hurting or helping the industry and how it needs to change. And maybe, like I said, don't focus on certain things. If you like something, go see it. Have fun. Do your own review about it. Do a blog post about it. You'll enjoy it a lot and you'll have fun with it. You'll have an absolute blast. All right, moviegoers, movie lovers, that is this week's episode of the Mr. Film Stock Podcast. I hope you had a blast by watching my podcast or listening in on Spotify or wherever other podcasts you listen to are. The reception and the positive feedback that I have gotten on my podcast is very, very humble, very appreciative, and I thank you so much. The downloads, the comments, the ratings have been great. I'm doing things differently that have not been done in podcasts. I believe that have not been done in podcasts, but it's going to work in a way where, as I stated, I will come up with topics that are not talked about, that people are afraid to talk about in the industry, that should be talked about, and that should be pushed forward, and how certain things are done in the norm of the entertainment industry, the film industry, the television industry, and how everything works in that whole medium of film, television, pop culture, entertainment, you name it, it'll be talked about. And like I stated, let me know in the comments wherever you watch this on my YouTube channel. If you're listening to it on Spotify, let me know. Write in, do whatever, leave a comment. Let me know what topic I should discuss, what I should talk about, something that's controversial, the unknown, what I think about certain topics. Let me know what I should talk about, and I will touch on those topics. And as I stated during this episode review, that I will be also mentioning, and one of the future episodes will be about the Motion Picture Association of America, or the MPAA, the rating system in Hollywood, and how it hurt, or is it hurting the industry? Is it not hurting the industry? What changed when certain things were added, and the whole history of that. So be sure you stay tuned for that episode coming up later on in the future. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Mr. Filmstock podcast. I'm Mr. Filmstock, and you've been listening to the Mr. Filmstock podcast.